fear not them, which kill the body, and not able to kill the soul.
Yo, this your boy True.
Fear him, which is able to destroy both the soul.
Special edition of I'm Just Sayin. It's a show where you not only get the perspective and opinions from barbers, but you get it from clients as well on a variety of topics. I was supposed to do a second part of a 2-part series about why some women tend to want control more than men, and although I'm still going to get the perspective of women, I believe due to what's going on in this country, this is more important. Today, we're going to be discussing racism. Now, some people believe that we came so far as a people that racism shouldn't exist or should be at a minimum. Some people believe racism never went away and it's just been suppressed and it needed an excuse to come to the forefront. Some people just don't care. Either way, you're going to hear right here. I'm just saying.
I lost a lot of good niggas to this colossal, to the point where even God hesitating because it's hostile.
What's going on, guys? We back again with I'm Just Sayin. We got 2 of the members that comes here to the barber shop. We're going to be asking them about the current situation, what's going on in America right now with the situation in Charlotte. What do you think about it?
I think it's crazy as hell.
So what did he say about the situation?
Well, basically he said that he's not going to look into it right now. He want to just see what's going on first. You know, it's not type of like, well, I'm not going to judge them first. Let me see
that's
what...
retarded, because he's the president. Like, he's supposed to handle that. Like, that's what they picked you for.
Exactly. So that's why a lot of people are up in arms about Trump, his decision, and his staff that he's got current going on.
They need to impeach him. Impeach Trump.
How y'all feel about racism?
They're trying to bring it back and keep it alive instead of let it mush together. They always bring in something. Put it in a video game or a movie. I swear to you, Mafia, that's the racist game out right now. Guarantee it.
How do you feel about how the white supremacists had the rally and the young lady and young men that lost their lives over there because of the rally that they're holding and what they are showing in America right now?
I feel like
It's crazy. Like, it's 2017. Like, you just need to let that go. Everybody's going to school with everybody. Like, there's people, couples dating now. Like, that are black and white or Mexican. Like,
that's why it's America. You have the freedom to do as you please, and you can stick to one.
So do you feel like what the white supremacists doing is their freedom of speech and it's okay for them to do that? Or do you
no,
feel
not
like
if
it's
people
breeding?
are dying.
like
it's one thing to have freedom of speech and like say what you want to say, but it's another thing when you're causing people to die, and that's not freedom of speech.
Action and reaction. You never know. It's all. It could go both ways depending on how you feel. If I feel white supremacist group is good, I'm gonna go on their side, and if I feel like if they're not, then I'm gonna not be on their side.
Right.
Just neutral.
I'm kind of conflicted by a person that is neutral because you don't care one way or another. So what if that was one of your family members that got ran over? How would you feel at that point?
Then
Would you feel neutral, like, hey, they was out there, can't say nothing?
it's what you put yourself in. Like,
But
and
I
I
feel
understand
like-
you're trying to make a difference, make a change,
Mhm.
but who is to say that?
But that's not making the change. They're trying to make it to where racism comes back, and that like.
That's not
But
good.
racism
No.
hasn't gone
Like,
away.
I feel like they hold
You
the
know?
rallies intentionally to cause something to happen.
People go there
But they
looking for.
knowingly, well, yeah, because
But-
someone's gonna defend their rights. If someone's like,
It's
oh, you're
all-
black,
it's
you
all
can't do this
on-
because you're black.
It's
like,
all on what your preference, what you believe, which will guide you to go that way. And then everyone has difference. That's why this is America. Like, if you're gonna go out to a rally, you should expect the unexpected. If you're gonna go there, you should know what you get into.
Right.
And that's what happens.
All right, man. We appreciate your
No
comments.
problem, man.
Okay, here we're back again with what I'm just saying. So what do you think about the current situation in Charlotte and Virginia that's happening right now in America?
First of all, he's not handling anything right, so it doesn't. That's obvious. But I don't understand the whole hate with the color and who you love and religion and all that. I've never understood it. or why people are the way that they are. I think that we've come a long way in history for people to still be doing this bullshit.
Right.
So
So, being that this is the land of the freedom of speech, so do you believe the white supremacists have the right to voice their opinion?
I think they can voice their opinion. I think anybody can voice their opinion. What they can't do is be aggressive the way that they have been. You know?
Right. So there's a way of how doing things.
Of course.
And if it does,
Yeah.
if it does breed hate, then it shouldn't be done in that manner.
Not at all.
Okay.
And what Donald Trump said was that the media was treating the white supremacist stuff unfair, but they was also chanting that gays need to go until you get testosterone.
See, that's what I'm saying. Like, that has nothing to do with what they're fighting for, what they're voicing. So if that's what they're fighting for, then they need to stick to that and not bring other opinion into what they feel or think about other things. Like, if that's what you're fighting for, then just fight for that, you know, and do it peacefully. Any other topic, you need to stay out of it. It's not your voice.
All right. Thank you. Appreciate you.
You're welcome.
All right. All right. Another one. I'm just saying. Welcome back to another episode of I'm Just Saying. We are facing some white supremacy in this nation. What do you think about the current situation with Charlotte and Virginia?
I think it's terrible. I think what's going on here is we have two different people, or what the government is trying to do is portray two different people having it in this scenario, whites and blacks, and saying, hey, you're your own person and you're your own person. That's not the case here. As you guys know, we're all human, we're all one. There's absolutely such thing as white privilege. White privilege does exist. Anyone that says it doesn't is most likely going to be white, or the gentleman that was on Anderson Cooper that happened to be a black gentleman the other day. It's there, it's alive. Racism is not in everybody's heart, but it is in the ignorant. It is. We need to get that fixed, and I think it needs to stop. It's not so much a political movement, more so a humanity movement.
Though this land of freedom of speech, do you believe the white supremacists have the right to voice their opinion?
Under their own breath, yeah. Under their own breath. If it's a hate, this is hate. This is out of hate. This isn't it's an opinion that has a lot of hate around it. So for me to go up to somebody in a mall or in a barber shop, the guy next to me, and say that I don't like his haircut, I think it's ugly as shit, that's going to be something for him, right? That's hate. That's not coming from, that is my opinion, but it's hate. So absolutely not, no. In the public, the way that they're doing it, if you're going to do it, at least put a mask on. You know, now you're going to do it and have everything open, and they have a bunch of stuff. You're racist on that Twitter and stuff. I mean, I think it's great what's going on out there.
So that would seem like it will put their families in jeopardy.
Absolutely.
Not only their families, what about their jobs? Now, from what I understand, there were school teachers out there and all that type of thing. So what do you say to your students that may be of color in your classroom?
Yeah.
So I think that's a big issue for the president to address and speak. The next question would be, what are your current thoughts about how Donald Trump is handling the situation?
It should have been done within hours of what happened. It shouldn't have happened. I think it was 48 hours after the fact that it ended up happening. It needed to have been addressed right away. It needed to have been addressed. The white supremacist, the neo-Nazi, going to everybody that was involved, and then rather than having it held up as and etc. Well, what's etc.? You know, what is it? It needs to be everybody that's involved, and they need to be pointed out. They need to know what's going on. I think that he handled it extremely poorly. I mean, you had other outsiders who are not even focused on that. He's not, a lot of people were saying that he's not our moral compass to go off of. I agree 100%, but he is a president of the United States and has to address stuff like this. So I think he was very poor with it.
Man, appreciate you.
Yeah,
Thank
absolutely.
You. Yes.
I'm on a road to riches in the struggle within. I'm hearing voices in my head, watching so-called friends. I'm last of a dying breed.
What do you think about the current situation in Charlotte and Virginia?
I mean, like, the situation, like, I don't think like all that happened. I don't think it should have happened, because racism ain't really something which should have been big or should have been a big situation, because I think like whites and blacks can get along pretty well. It's just the way that like each color presents us, honestly.
All right. No, this is the land of the freedom of speech. Do you believe that the white supremacists have the right to voice their opinion?
I mean, anyone's anyone has the rights to voice their opinion, but it depends. You always have to like look out and see like what you say. Look out for whatever you say. Like you can't like disrespect someone because of their color. You can't disrespect someone because of their race. But it just depends on what you say and how do you say it to whoever.
Right, totally agree. And what are your current thoughts about how Donald Trump is handling the situation?
I mean, like, honestly, I think he got to step up. He got to step up. Like, that, it's been going on too long. I think it should stop, honestly, but, I mean, it is what it is. I mean, the world is different today, but honestly, you got to step up.
Right.
What I think about that, it's a terrible situation that shouldn't have happened in the first place. Irrespective of whether or not they had permits to do that whole presentation and with the whole Klan march and whatnot, it shouldn't have happened. And if it did happen, they should have been better prepared to handle that. That way nobody got hurt or anything kind of madness should have happened at all. Like, clans like that, that are around to do nothing other than to incite and promote violence and bigotry and hatred, irrespective of their chain of mind, shouldn't really be allowed to do that in such a public forum with so much history and background to it that speaks to the heart of the entire nation as a whole. Like, this nation is founded on the backs of so many different multitudes of races and cultures of people, to where them gathering in that type of spot is pretty much incited to do nothing other than start a riot. So they should have felt that coming to a head anyway.
Okay, so although this is the land of the free and freedom to speak, do you think that the white supremacists have the right to speak their mind?
As it may, true, they do have the right to speak their mind. I'm not against that at all. But speaking your mind while you're holding tiki torches and walking like a couple hundred people deep down a city square, that's going kind of overboard. You can speak your mind and hold a march. You don't need tiki torches for that. You want to hold a march and do a rally? Do it up in the light of day where everybody can see you. That way you don't need tiki torches. You hold a march at night where you hold tiki torches and you're like white supremacists or white nationalists or whatever, that throws everybody back to the 50s and the 40s when Klansmen would march on people's houses with crosses burning, trying to set people's houses on fire and kill them. That sets a bad precedent for everybody else. That's get people's emotions going. Nobody likes that. That's a bad look. So yeah, that's a good call for them.
It leads to my next question. How do you think Trump handled it?
I think he handled that the way he does everything else. He handled that quite poorly. Everything that he said sounded scripted, like somebody else wrote it for him. And he, at one point, started to sound like he was blaming the anti-protesters, or the counter-protesters rather, for being there without permits, when all that they're doing is voicing their freedom of opinion and using that amendment right. It's an inherent right that is written in our Constitution that even counter-protesters are allowed to voice their opinion. The fact that the situation got out of control and got violent could have been avoided, but no one on the counter-march's side should have been to blame for that entire situation. Like, that's just a bad idea. He could have handled that much better. Anybody else in their right mind would have, but he's not of that mindset. He's just of a one-track mind to blame as many people that don't look like him as he possibly can. And that's pretty much where he went with that. I'm just saying.
Look mad rapper, big payback to the backstabbers. Outside ENC through thin, them transparent. Eyes open,
I grew up with my parents telling me like black people are rude, black people are obnoxious, and they're loud, like they discriminate against them. And I grew up with so much diversity. I learned there's a lot of good people. No matter what race you are, it doesn't distinguish the person you are, no matter what race you are. Bunch of different race friends, different types of people, they're raised with different cultures, like.
Now, how do you feel what they was chanting about the gays?
I mean, it hurts a lot of people, it offends people. I mean, being gay myself, it won't stop me from like loving who I want to love, or it won't stop me from being me, you know. Just don't let other people's opinion matter. At the end of the day, I mean, their lives don't have to do anything with my life. Like, how do I feel? Man, it makes me angry, like, in a lot of ways. It makes me really angry. And it disappoints me to have racism occur, I don't know.
What do you Now, this is the land of the free and freedom of speech. Do you think the white supremacists have that freedom to speak?
I mean, they do have their freedom and to say what they have to say, but their motive is wrong. Their motive isn't like to support anything that's right.
How do you feel Trump? How do you feel the way he's handling it?
I feel like he's handling it wrong. He's taking a side versus having like a diversity of things to do about it.
How do you feel?
It's crazy. I'm from Virginia, so just sad for me for the most part as far as people that were organizing there. I mean, a lot of it is, you know, people will always say, you know, their First Amendment right, you know, you have the right to free speech, but I feel like they're fighting for their right to oppress, you know what I mean? And I feel like they have no business being there. I mean, the shit that they're preaching is just stuff that's fucking crazy, to be honest with you. So I don't know. For me, it's a topic that I guess is just difficult to talk about with some people. But a lot of uneducated people, and they preach heritage, not hate. But they literally Constitution of the Confederacy or whatever that says like the Confederate symbol is a symbol that basically is supposed to represent the fact that, you know, there's certain types of people that don't or that shouldn't be in the white man's world, so to speak. And so to sit there and hide behind that symbol as being like heritage, not hate, like your whole heritage is founded upon like slavery. They're oppressing, you know, a certain group of people. It's like the whole basis of their heritage. So I don't know. It's shitty. I personally like. I wish. You know, I wish there was more way to open up a dialogue with these people to kind of show them that there's, you know, a better way. I feel like with a lot of those cats, though, they're just all they know from day one. It's kind of the same issue you would have with North Korea, where these people, it's like from birth, they're just raised to absorb a certain ideology and you know, listen to things a certain way. For me, it's just like it's hard to open up a dialogue with people like that because they don't really want to hear another perspective. So it would be nice to try to sit some of these people down and talk to them.
So how do you feel about freedom of speech?
For me personally, I mean, everybody's entitled to their freedom of speech. I don't necessarily think you know, and I mean, in the sense of like these neo-Nazi guys, they're using that amendment for the wrong reasons, I feel like. You know, you should have the right to protest when things are bad, and you know, if your government's, you know, being unjust, you know what I mean, you should be able to speak out about that. But what these people are using the First Amendment right for is just like a show. You get to a certain point where, like, you know, if you're talking to somebody who's 40 or 50, and this is just all they believe their whole life, I'll say it's impossible, but it is extremely difficult to try to get through to some of these people because they just can't, they have no perspective. So
how do you feel Donald Trump is handling things?
His whole presidency is a botch. Say what you will about that guy, but I mean, he basically came out, and from what I understand, he was talking a whole bunch about how there was, like, you know, shit on both sides, but it's like, call it what it is, man. The only reason you've even got people protesting there in the first place is because you've got like a whole contingent of white supremacists, which I think he's sketched to touch upon the whole subject because he knows a bunch of these fucking people put him in office. So like, you know, and he did come out, to his credit, he did come out and say like he condemns the whole neo-Nazi thing and everything, but it's unfortunate, you know. It's really unfortunate where the situation is in this country as far as our presidency goes. I'm not very, never been more repulsed by the representation we have in government currently, but I'm just saying.
What do you guys think about what's going on in Charlotte and Virginia?
Oh man, that's completely ridiculous, man. Just the fact that we live in a country and the state of our people, to where the president is gonna have a delayed or basically a non-reaction after these people that don't push nothing but hate and BS rhetoric, and they get an excuse for it because they put the cloak of religion around it, so they just misunderstood, or their religion ain't understood enough. You look at the other end of the spectrum, and now it's cause for danger. Anytime it's more than 3 of us in a group, or if we got on a certain type of thing, or we look like a certain type of thing, it means that we automatically get pushed into a category of stigmatism that, for all intents and purposes, I would have thought we overcame a long time ago. I would have been thought in this year of 2017 in the year of being able to buy presidential elections, that reparations would have been way out the way already. You know, you can say we dodged the bullet with Hillary, but then at the same time in this past election, we had to choose the lesser of two evils.
Okay, with that being said, of course, this is the land of the free and freedom of speech. Do you think the white supremacists and the neo-Nazis have the freedom of speech?
To an extent, but you have the freedom of speech to express what you feel, but not in regards or in terms to any kind of hateful rhetoric. You know, because all that is just a poor imitation of flattery. I hate to say this and separate it, but it's a clear separation. And the only reason why a person will be filled with that kind of hate and that kind of mindset and that kind of just less than Cro-Magnon Neanderthal type thinking is if you have some type of form of flattery, or you jealous, or the hatred, just like it say on your shirt. You know what I'm saying? It's just crazy that after so much that this country done been through, not even to mention how this country was founded to begin with, you know, that we would still be facing some of the dilemmas and things that we got to go through, because it's crazy, man.
Kind of touched on it from the very beginning, but I want to get both of y'all opinions on how do you think Donald Trump is handling it?
He's horrible. He has no foreign policy. It's the same thing. He ain't doing nothing different than what the IRS did with putting Jewish people in power there. You know what I'm saying? And that's the Carnegies, the Rothschilds, a whole bunch of other type of history that cats got to go back and just do their thing if they want to know about the country they live in. Because this is the only country that I know of where you can berate your president with no consequence. Any other country in the world, you say something about the head of your state, the head of your sovereign country, wherever, it's going to be grounds for punishment. But here, it's always a cloak of some type of, I don't want to put the conspiracy ball on it, but it's always, you have to think that it's something. When you got a person that's inherited X amount of $1 million, and I appreciate and applaud that man's hustle, but at the same time, if you don't have what it takes, and that's foreign policy of everywhere, you got to know everything. You can't have no bias about nothing because you're the president, and the president dictates that you have to carry yourself a certain way no matter what your personal feelings may betray. And just by the fact that he didn't go and try to get people that are going to get the job done, he went and looked at a manifest of the top people in every category in the branch of government, and he just reached out and was like, I'm going to take you, because that's what happens when you allow somebody with that volume of money. They have a different complex about them, so they feel like they're not subjected to the same type of rules as a Barack Obama or a John Kerry running or Al Gore or anything like that. You know what I'm saying?
That brings me to a perfect question or whatever. Now, how is it any different? Now, I'm not going to say any names, but I know you heard about this. How is it any different from what the white supremacists and the neo-Nazis are doing, and the comedian who had a prop of Donald Trump's head cut off? How is that any different?
You see, that right there...
And she got in trouble for it.
That right there is where it's unfortunate, but we'll always be in that catch-22. Because you can have collegiate, these A1 schools, Division I schools out there having plays depicting assassinations of, and would-be scenarios of, and you get somebody that does something, albeit it could have been in a fit of frustration, but you got to look at where the frustration comes from, because it doesn't come from anything. So for a person or persons to say that one group should be segregated into a certain type of stigmatism or category because of the way that we interpret our feelings to display out to the world, because otherwise how would they know? They can't walk a mile in these shoes. And that's not to say that they got too many diamonds on them or there's not enough holes in them. It's just the fact that the things that we are subjected to and the things that we have to deal with on a day-to-day basis, you could put it against any one denomination, race, whoever, red, black, yellow, purple, whoever. You put any one of those other races outside of African American together in the same scenario, and I guarantee you. Matter of fact, I will refer to the white guy and the black guy that had the AR-15. Same scenario, same situation, but look what they did to that man. And there was no separation of rights nowhere. They were both granted the right to bear arms and all that under this president right here. And I can't really say too much about our last president because you just never know. You know what I'm saying? Because one thing that a lot of people in this country fail to realize is that the president rarely speaks his own mind unless it's in these 140 characters he get on Twitter. So most times that you hear this president standing in front of something, it's about 10 or 12 other people that have a peace of mind to put their 48 cents down and then leave them last 2 cents for the president in the form of the 140 characters, which I still don't understand how somebody in the highest office that could be achieved, the highest level of power in the world for that matter, can be allowed to have 140 characters on Twitter. Man, that's just crazy. I'm just saying.
So I feel like honestly, the statue, we already got a president that has all the power in the world. Why does a statue has to symbolize power? You know what I mean? Like, it's just a statue. What's the big deal if we remove it?
With this being the land of the free and freedom of speech, do you think the white supremacists and the KKK deserve to have freedom of speech?
I mean, you're gonna get freedom of speech anywhere you go. Like, just like when you go to Pride, you get those hate crowds, and like when you go to like certain events, you always have a hate crowd. You know what I mean? It's freedom of speech. Like, I feel just because they're preaching white power doesn't mean they shouldn't be heard. I don't feel like they should be like targeted or hated against, because what if I say the opposite and they feel the same type of way about me? But it's freedom of speech. Their opinion is not better than mine, and my opinion is not better than theirs. So I feel like a statue is a statue. I mean, if we're gonna take away that statue, might as well take all the statues away.
Right.
But now we're taking away monuments. We're taking away like movements of the world. Like, we're taking away history. Why take that away? For example, if we're gonna take that away, why not take away the Statue of Liberty? The Statue of Liberty, what does that symbolize? Slavery.
How do you think Donald Trump is handling this situation?
Donald Trump ain't shit. He ain't shit. He ain't did shit. Where's Barack Obama? Can we get him back in the White House? Cause I would prefer him than fucking Donald Trump. What the fuck do he do for us besides give everybody a goddamn headache? He's not helping our world be better. I don't see it.
Do you think that what you say as your freedom of speech, do you think that matters of what you say? Let me give you an example. They come to hate, and then, you guys, stand up for yourself. And then the people that hate kill a gay person because of it.
Now they started a riot.
Right.
No.
An unnecessary riot.
Right.
That's something, now that's more shit than that,
Right,
like,
we already have other countries trying to bomb us. Why have our own people trying to bomb us?
Is that wrong? Because they came to freedom of speech, voiced their opinion.
Right.
Y'all voiced your opinion back, and now violence erupted because y'all stood up for yourselves, and now violence erupted from the people who was preaching hate towards you.
I just don't
How do you?
Right, so freedom of speech and violence is two different things. It's one thing to say something to someone's face, is a total different thing to put like a weapon or violence into it. You know what I mean? You can say whatever you want to me at the end of the day, but if you're gonna pull a trigger, why even say anything?
Right.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Okay, so it goes back to what I just said. The white supremacists was trying to stop the statue from being removed since the beginning of the putting together of these, we're going to call them terrorists, because that's exactly what it is. They preach the message of hate. Anybody who's not white don't need to be here. Okay, so now you got people who's for the removal of the statue because it represents at least a bad taste. So they allowed to have their freedom of speech also. So they counter protesting, and the white supremacists, neo-Nazis, and KKK get mad and kill one of the counter protesters. That's the issue.
Right.
That's what I'm asking. Now, when I put it in the perspective of of the haters that come to Pride and stuff like that, wherever not, then the violence is unnecessary and this and that and this and that. This is actually going on right now. People are getting killed. It's not the counter protesters. It's the ones who came to protest of the removal of the statue. So, what you preach and what you protest that leads to violence because somebody else has a different perspective of you. I mean, how you feel about that?
Yeah,
What do you think?
I mean, it almost is like, damn if you say something, damn if you don't.
Right.
You know, like if you say something, then you might lose your life, and if you don't say something, it's like, what do you stand for? It's a certain power everybody has. It's a certain like certain money, like certain amount of money they have, a certain power they have. They're respected in their own little Illuminati type thing. You know what I mean? They have their own little clique. You know that you can't just go up and mess with them. You know.
Mm-hmm.
It's almost like a cartel. You can't you can kill, you know, the people that are selling you the drugs. You can't kill the main person. How are you gonna get to them? You know, so it's almost like, how are you gonna get to that person? You can't just do that. It's all about that white power. America is built on white people. You know.
It's true.
It's like they use the immigrants to build it, but the white people were smart enough to use, you know, like the immigrants to make their own power. You know what I mean? And you used everybody like as a tool. You know what I mean? And then once they got to where they were, because obviously the builder wasn't educated enough to use their advantage, the other side did, you know, and basically ruled it.
Here's the thing: black race have is they too humane. What I mean by that is we like to show people how to do stuff where you can find something at without looking for anything back.
Right.
Mm-hmm. You understand what I'm saying? But that wasn't the mind frame. How you think this country is the way it is now? How you think they was able to get it from the Native Americans? You understand what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Too humane. They're capitalizing on you being humane, willing to do this, willing to do that, and get burnt for it. And then when you try to stand up for yourself, you get discredited, you get killed off. A multitude of things will happen to you. The main question is, what's the solution? How do we get any type of progress? Here's another interesting fact. One person said that, you know, we came a long way. We should look past all this racism, bullshit, and things of that nature. Well, the white supremacy and the Ku Klux Klan is twice as big as it was in the past. How is that possible if we came a long way?
Exactly. We ain't getting nowhere. We ain't got nowhere. Because shit ain't happening like it used to. We really ain't getting nowhere. You know, in reality, we're not getting nowhere. It's the same shit, different day. It's just motherfuckers bringing shit that's really not that important to the light versus shit that needs to be talked about. I'm just saying.
Man.
There you have it. Racism. This is a discussion that needs to be talked about. It shouldn't be avoided, and it can't be avoided because it still exists to this day. You heard how people felt about Charlotte and Virginia. You heard the land of the free, the freedom of speech, opinions people have about that. You heard about how Donald Trump handled the whole situation. This is a topic that cannot be held in silence. We have to talk about this. We have to get a dialogue on this. You can't begin to come to a solution if you don't talk about it. You know, some people don't talk about it, whether it's fear or, you know, afraid of upsetting somebody or what have you. But it needs to be discussed. I really tried to get someone to have an opinion almost like a devil's advocate, but I had a few that just didn't want to get on camera, so I tried, y'all. Some of the questions are, why do racism still exist? Is there a solution? Is there a solution being attempted? How many casualties do it need for it to be changed? And how long before it becomes a full-out race war. I was raised to kill people with kindness. I was raised to speak my mind. I was raised to stand up for myself and others who can't stand up for themselves. I was raised to speak out against injustice. I was raised to be a thinker and move on it, not just to be a thinker. I was raised to love the next, but people fall in and out of love every day, all day. So why is it different for me to continue to love somebody who hate me, who hate you? The situation that happened in Charlotte and in Virginia and in other places around the country, believe that, it's horrible, man. It's horrible and disgusting because you still have people who believe only one race should exist. You have to ask yourself this: how is the white supremacists and KKK still able to operate and nothing happens to them, knowing the message that they speak on? What's the difference of white supremacists and KKK preaching hate and, I'm not gonna name any names, and a comedian that have a prop of a head of Donald Trump severed getting in a world of trouble for basically the exact same thing? How is that possible? If y'all don't believe WP don't stand for white power, it stands for white privilege. If y'all don't believe it's two justice systems in place, if y'all don't believe it's a glass ceiling, then some of y'all are further behind than I thought. This is a discussion that can go on, but what do? That's the biggest question that haven't been answered yet. What's the solution? Is there a solution? Until next time, man, this is true. I'm just saying.
I ain't never been afraid of going. It's part of living, but the pain is growing. They say I'm gifted with my words, but I'm cursed by sin. I see an image of me merged, being served by twins. If I ain't never built a circle, I'll be purged within. But I'm like, fuck it, this is what it is. I was always reminded, my decision come with cause and effect. And trust the niggas who